Okay, this is the October Aero Club Safety Meeting, and my name is Roger Mann, for those of you that don't know who I am. And don't make it too dark because I can't see anything.
Wear your glasses.
Oh, gee, yeah. Welcome. I'm surprised that you guys showed up. I thought maybe you guys would be watching the debate or something like that. I figured half the people wouldn't show up tonight, but you know what's more important, right?
We took the day off here on TV.
Yeah. Let me see if I can turn down the sound of this thing. Oh, Bob.
I already cast my ballot. I was going to say, probably not too many decided.
Okay, for you new people, we have an agenda which we go through. We just kind of quickly go through this agenda as fast as we can. Tonight I'm going to try to make it as short as I can because we do have a couple of people that do have to leave early, and we got a couple of guys that are on call too. So try to get this done. Okay, what we do is we introduce new people that have not been to this meeting before. If you are new, please stand up. Okay, introduce yourself.
I'm Kyle Hugo. I was actually in the Yokota Aero Club in Japan when I was stationed there. I'm in the Navy, and I've been flying since I've been about 14 years old. So.
40 now.
Yeah, I was going to say. Yeah.
Hey, nothing wrong with the Navy. Bob.
Yeah. Okay.
Julian Manlil. I'm actually with the Guard 163rd Fire Army, 18 years in the Army, so I'm gonna learn how to get my wings here. All right.
My name is Jasmine Diaz. I'm brand new to everything, so we'll see how this goes. I hope to meet everybody and enjoy what you like to enjoy.
Yeah.
Welcome. All right. Whatever you do, don't judge the club on the people you meet here tonight. Okay. All right. Next thing we're going to do is new pilot ratings, and are any solos or anybody that's done something new, and that includes Air Force pilots too. Gavin, you stopped doing things for the Air Force.
Yeah, it stopped and started.
Yeah.
Most of the people here weren't. I have some things to say about that later, but as far as qualifications, I did get right seat qualified and C-53.
Wow.
Yeah. So we're taking it, been to 2 air shows in it, and it's pretty fantastic. Something I've always wanted to do. So.
That is really neat.
Is it a CH-53?
Nope.
Is that the one from Commemorative Air Force?
Yeah.
Yeah. Nice. Used to be near that one of the roofs.
Yeah.
Okay, anybody else? Hi, Art.
Hi. I got my formation and safety training card, so I can fly formation in the air shows now with the big guys.
All right, congrats. Okay, anybody else? Ward Massey flew for the first time in 6 months. Well, is that it? Gee whiz. I can pick
something
up.
small. I know a lot of people here don't like it. Tailwheel endorsement.
Oh, yeah. We've got several people. Yeah, we got, let's see, who else had the tail wheel endorsement? Yeah, Richard over there, he also has one. So there's a lot of people. Tony in the back. Yeah, we got, I think it's kind of neat to go over there. Fly Bob has got a place over there where you can go over there and learn to do that. Where did you do it at?
I flew on Fly Bob the Champ there, and then I'm a partnership with the ARB4.
Okay.
Out of Redlands.
Okay. Yeah. All right. That's neat. All right. Anybody else? Okay. Experiences. Okay, this is your chance to tell your story. We promised that we won't tell the FAA. At least I don't think there's anybody here on the FAA, well, except for Tony, but Tony's retired now, so.
You don't count no more.
He don't count no more, yeah.
I had one I was going to be sure and tell, but I can't remember at all what it was, so maybe next time. I just know there was something.
There was something. Oh, okay.
But he still carries his Bible.
Yeah, I noticed. Yeah. Tony, who's now back up as an instructor for you students who really want to learn the regulations, he's the guy to fly with, I'll tell you. And he really does know what's going on. Okay, anybody else? Experiences? Anybody get violated or anything?
Yeah, but that has nothing to do with it.
Yeah. I stepped in that one. Okay, all right. We'll talk to the Aero Club manager in a few minutes. And then we'll go through our SOPs. And what we do is I do a little bit of a paragraph in the SOPs, and I just kind of go right through the whole book. And then when I finish the book, I start all over again. And just so to make you familiar, as you know, everybody in the club, when you join the club, you're supposed to read the SOPs. They're not that long. And you can read those places, especially for your students. There's chapter 4, which is what we're going to talk about tonight, is aimed to the students. But I highly recommend that just the regular pilots read that chapter too, because it has a lot of neat stuff in there as to what to do in case you get yourself in trouble. And then we're not going to talk about in-flight fires. I just thought maybe I'd let you. That was my original thing I was going to do.
Oh yeah, that was my experience. No, just kidding.
Yeah. No, well, I was going to talk about in-flight fires, and the reason why, there was a video that I was going to show that the guy talked about his Cessna 172 catching on fire in the engine and how he ended up getting on the ground safely, but he ended up with third-degree burns on his feet and legs. And so Bob might want to talk a little bit about that, because some guys go out, wear the right kind of clothes when you're flying in an airplane, because even in a Cessna 172 it can catch on fire. So anyhow, that's what we were going to talk about. Tonight we're going to talk about pilot in command. Okay, before we talk to the manager, I did want to bring up a couple of things. The Southern California TRACON, they're going to actually do a tour through TRACON down in San Diego on Friday, November 2nd, at 11:30 a.m. I highly recommend it. It's I did it many years ago, but you get to see the inner workings of ATC. You'll have to go online with FAA.gov, and they usually list what events are taking place, and you want to look for the Southern California TRACON Tour, TRACON Tour, and it's really worth it. It really is, if you have the time to be able to do it. So I thought I'd mention that. And then I did want to bring up, and we'll talk about that after Bob talks, so I'll go ahead and turn it over to you, Bob, if you have anything to say. If you don't have anything to say,
oh, I got a lot.
I thought he was sick for a minute.
Yeah, I did too. I thought, hey, wow.
I wonder who made me sick. I'm going to cover scheduling for a minute. If you people are doing scheduling and you're going to be out of the area, most of you, do you know where our local flying area is and how far it extends? 25, 50, 100 miles? Where's our local flying area? 25 DMA, 25 nautical miles is our local flying area. Anything out of that, you need to file a flight plan, let Roger and I know where you're going, so we have an idea what to expect. And if you're going to be on the ground for 30 minutes or less, all you have to do is will be in the remarks section of the DD-175, this place, stipulate in there that you'll be working this airport in your training. And you can take and land, shut down the engine, get back airborne, come back on the same flight plan. Last person who flies an airplane is supposed to fuel the airplane. We've had some instances here lately where, because the airplane comes back and goes back out on a turnaround, to save time, we're not putting fuel in the gas tanks. So if you come back, don't make the assumption it's going to go back out again, top it off. The 182, I really don't worry about it too much since it's a 78-gallon tank, but somewhere along the line someone's going to have to take and top it off. Holiday schedule. Right now we're planning on closure for the 24th, the 31st, and definitely in the 1st. So January 1 will be closed, and December the 25th will be closed. More than likely it'll be a half a day on the 24th, and there's a good chance that I'll be open, or at least I'll be there on the 31st. So if you want to fly on those particular days, be sure and get yourself on the schedule. The most important thing is that our chief flight instructor is now John Law. John, stand up.
Well, I was going to be doing that.
He has gone through every record that we have and made a list of what you're lacking in that. And what we have found that ID cards have expired, including active duty or CAP, and medical records have expired. We need copies of that to bring those folders up to date before November the 5th. Either bring them up to date or there's no flying. And the club really can't afford that, so we'd like to have you flying. We talked about this on the last safety meeting, and I have failed to go back out earlier. But this coming Saturday, we're looking at a flyaway. How many people are still interested in a flyaway for Camarillo since we got some nice weather? I got 1, 2, John's 3. Got back there. We'll take and work something up here, get your name on and reserve your airplane. I'll have my airplane so I can take 3 people if you really need a ride. And we'll go up for breakfast, try and get airborne before 8:30. Takes about an hour to get over to Camarillo. They've got a nice restaurant, and it's a nice flight. Going through the Los Angeles Basin gives you a little bit of training going through that, and up through I-5, 101, and then back home again. Next weekend also at Mojave, California Pilots Association is having their annual meeting plus a fly-in at Mojave. If anybody is also interested in flying out there, maybe on Sunday to see the air show, or Saturday afternoon, it's available at Mojave. That's all I got. Thank you.
Okay, thanks. Okay, these are our flight instructors right now. We've got Jerry Rollis, which he's kind of been in and out because he flies a lot with Civil Air Patrol too. And Alex has been flying almost every single day. So anybody out there that wants or needs to have an instructor, he's here. John Law, he's now, Bob introduced him as our new chief pilot, and he's available now. And Tony Costanza, he's also available. And then Fred Zoltz, he can only fly with the T-34s in the back seat, and you have to be pilot in command. So basically, people that do annuals in the Aero Club, that's what Fred could do. All the rest of them have their full-fledged
He's
pilots.
also qualified T-41.
What's that?
Fred's still qualified T-41 PIC.
Well, that's true. That's
PIC.
true. Yeah, I don't know if he wants to fly a T-41 or not, but that's too slow for him. But, so, for those of you that want like their phone numbers or something like that, you could either ask them directly, or I do have their phone numbers up here. I didn't want to just put it up on the screen because I didn't know if you guys wanted to have me do that or not. So, you know, if you want to talk to him, you can do so. John is here, and Fred is here, and Tony's here. Alex is here. Everybody's here except for Jerry Rollis. He's the only one not here. So.
Say that last again, Roger. What?
If you want to talk to an instructor, just talk to the ones that are here. All the instructors are here except for Jerry.
Okay.
Yeah, he's the only one not here. John.
Just to clarify, like I've had a couple guys approach me recently about checking out in the T-34. The only guy we have doing that right now is Jerry Rolls, right?
Yep.
Yep. Now Fred can do the ground school part, and if you're doing an annual, you can do it with him. But if you're a new person getting into the T-34s, no, Fred can't do that part. Okay, any questions?
I just want to touch base. Starting November 1st, we're going to try and start up with all new students a get 10 hours of free ground school if you can guarantee the club 20 hours of flying. And we're working on an MOU or memorandum of understanding or an agreement in regards to that. What we don't want is people to come in, get a free ground school, and then go somewhere else and leave us holding the bag. So we're trying to stimulate our growth with membership by doing ground school, and we'll be covering more information on that later.
And our availability of our new instructors is a bit more because they all live locally now. Before, we always had the problem of the instructors living, you know, an hour and a half away or something like that. And so now these guys, they live right here in this local area, so that makes it a lot nicer. Okay, know your SOPs. What we're doing tonight is Chapter 4, which is still a continuation of the student pilot's procedures. Basically on here, for you students, of course, your flight instructor is the clearing official. You clearing officials who are clearing officials can't just clear a student. It has to be done by the instructor. So, so just kind of remember that. The instructor may designate another instructor, so like John could designate, you know, Tony to let a person solo, as long as the instructor knows all about the student. In other words, you know, where they're at in their training and that type of thing. Accurate record keeping, logbook endorsements, and limitations and authorizations will be assisted greatly in having another instructor clear you for solo flights. So basically what it's saying is to have the instructor be very, very thorough and keeping a good record. And we can't overemphasize that now because the Air Force is coming before the next safety meeting. At the very first week of November, we're getting hit with a SAV from the Air Force, the Aero Club is. And that usually consists of about 5 guys. They come walking through that front door and they split up. And one goes to the personnel records, the other one goes down to the maintenance where David G is, the other one goes in to see Bob, the other one goes sees me because I'm the safety officer. And usually it doesn't involve the accounting and finance stuff. It's mostly it has to do with the running of the club and the pilot side of it. So the instructors need to have the records all up to date, and John Law is doing a good job of keeping up with the personnel folders. And for you guys, it would really help a lot if you just check on the computer to see if everything that's on the computer under your name is up to date, and also your personnel file. If Bob or I are in the office, just ask us if the personnel file is not open or needs to be unlocked. Just ask us and we can unlock it for you. Whenever you do come into the club, I do ask if you will go through your personnel file. Make sure that your medical is up to date. That's one of the biggest ones. And I know, John, there were some others too like that. The medicals were out of date and the ID cards. Those are the 2 biggies that seem to go out of date. So if your ID card that authorizes you to be in the club is out of date, we need to have that updated. So please do that when you come into the club. Okay, any questions? All right, now, redispatch. Should you have a non-programmed landing at another airport, call operations at Aero Club, okay? If it's, of course, obviously, if it's going to be during the weekend or sometime or at night or whatever, then, of course, you know, there's no way you can get a hold of us. Then you call March Air Force Base Operations. Request that they find the Aero Club manager, which they have our numbers, and they'll be able to get a hold of us, and then we'll try to get a hold of John or whatever, or the instructor that cleared you to fly. And then make sure you tell them that you're a student pilot if you're a student pilot. If you're a regular, obviously a pilot, then you know you just need to get a hold of the manager or myself and just let us know. As a student, though, you need to try to get hold of your instructor and we'll jump on him. So, yeah. Okay. Any questions on this? Okay. All right. Let's see if this will work. I hope it does. All right. This is and hopefully it will play, this is a situation where a guy relinquished his authority as pilot in command. Pilot in command. What the thing was, the video was a video showing the guy flying up in Alaska. Some of you may have seen it before. And what it was a guy flying his airplane in formation with somebody else. They weren't really in close formation, they were just flying loosely. But he kind of was just following the other guy. And instead of, you know, being his own navigator and watching out for himself, he just followed this guy right into a fog bank up in Alaska. And he made a right turn and he flew the airplane right into a fog bank that was right on shore. And the next thing he knew is that he was completely lost. He had no idea where he was at. He was just totally, you know, disoriented and everything. And he as he puts it in the video, the sounds of the airplane didn't match the airspeed that he was at, or at least what he thought he was at. And so what he did is he ended up flying, you know, he figured that was it. You know, he figured, you know, he screwed up, that was it. You know, it was over, you know. Well, as he said that, he had about, well, as he puts it, he had 3 seconds of visual in front of the airplane. He was flying at 120 knots. He breaks out, the fog was still there, but he found a meadow, and it was where there was no trees. And he goes, oh, you know, so he kind of found his way around that meadow with the 3 seconds of visual in front of him. And he started doing a circle inside this meadow. And of course there was a bunch of trees in some places, and he saw trees and he would go over them and then back down again. He did this for about 20 minutes. And he was trying to figure out, you know, what to do. He just figured again, you know, it was over. Well, his partner, the other guy, he was talking to him and he said, you know, he thought he knew where he was at, so he said, why don't you try making a right turn? Well, he did. He went and he did the longest portion of the meadow, and he did a little bit of a right turn to see if he could get out of the area. In other words, try to go back the same direction that he came in on. And when he did, he saw a trunk of a tree go right by the airplane. And the tree was going up into the fog above him. And so he made a 30-degree left turn, and the plane kept flying, and then he did break out over the ocean. And he, of course, now he had to be careful not to get too far out into the ocean, because if he'd lost contact with the land, he would lose his orientation. So he tried to keep his eye on the land, and he could just see a little tiny bit of the land behind him. So he turned and cranked the airplane back around, and he finally got himself out of the situation and out of the fog bank. And so that's what the video was about. Some of the things that he talked about was the fact that when he got in the meadow, one of the things he said was that when he got into it, his brain just started shrinking up. And we talked about it last meeting. I was hoping we could watch it because it just is perfect. And he just couldn't think, because the plane was flying 120 knots. Here he was in this place out in the middle of nowhere in a meadow. They didn't know where he was at, with trees all around him. And of course, it comes to find out later, 1,000-foot mountains 3 places around that meadow. And they guesstimate that the tree that he flew next, that was under the tree next to the trunk, was one of the mountainsides going up on the side. And if he had not made that 30-degree angled bank to get away from it, he probably would have gone into the mountainside. One of the thoughts that came to him later was, first off, he had enough gas for 5 more hours of flying in the airplane. And it never occurred to him to ever slow the airplane down. He kept flying the thing at 120 knots in that circle in the meadow. And it never occurred to him to ever slow down. Because he could have slowed, it was an RV. He could have slowed that thing down to like, what, 60 knots, I think it is, something like that. I don't know if anybody here is familiar with that airplane. But he could have done that. And of course, the other alternative, he could have gotten it down to slow speed. And if he had to, he could have stayed in that meadow for about 5 hours until the weather either lifted or you know. And of course, the other one was to land the airplane in the meadow. And like he said, you know, it would have messed up his airplane, but he probably would have walked out of the thing. So there was a lot of things that he could have done to prevent the thing. Of course, the obvious one is to not just blindly follow another guy, you know, ahead of you and just let him be the pilot in command. Be a pilot in command of your own airplane. And that's basically what this is. And I just quickly went over a couple of things. Pilot in command, you're in charge. When you're acting as pilot in command of an airplane, you have sole authority to do whatever is necessary to ensure the safe outcome of the flight. And for you guys that are students, actually, that's what you're being taught to be. Because what comes with a pilot in command is knowing how to fly that airplane safely. Knowing the airplane, knowing the ATC system, knowing everything about what it is to fly an airplane. So you're basically training to be a pilot in command. One of the things in the article I took this out of, basically what he talked about was that, you know, it's not a movie, or it's real life. This is something that's, you know, it's not pretend, it's something that's for real. He's saying it's not saying that it's not serious, because it is serious. Your life is in the hands of you taking that authority. But no pilot examiner is going to ask you, you know, to show those grand feats of strength to earn that pilot's license. Most of the time, you know, they want to see you fly that airplane safe. But also they did mention in the article that oftentimes it's not brought up either. The pilot in command part of it kind of gets brushed over a little bit. And then all of a sudden you get your private, and next thing you know, here you are, pilot in command. So there is a little bit of a, in the teaching of it, there's a little bit of a lack of just letting the person know that, hey, look, you know, you are the sole responsibility of that airplane. As we get down here a little further, the real story on pilot in command authority is the application to seemingly minor decisions that crop up on every flight. In other words, one of the things, and Ski can tell you this, and John, you know, in the Air Force, you know, when you're aircraft commander, you have to make these decisions, and these decisions just come about just like that. And John is a captain in the airlines, and of course, Bob. Yeah, I couldn't even think of the airplane manager's name. Bob was a captain, of course, in the airlines.
Evaluation.
Yeah, I know. I have to call. Yeah, Pierce. Anyhow, they can tell you some of the stories. I can tell you stories as the flight engineer too, and Gavin back there too, and Mark, all you guys. So you know, it's, even though you're just flying a little airplane, as some people seem to look at it, it's still an airplane. It's still up there in the airspace. It's still lives that are being involved. And it's one of those things that a lot of people do. You know, the size of the airplane does not mean anything. It's still pilot in command of a vessel that's going through the air. when you fly to another airport cross country, then pilot and command can be important. But if you're flying just on a local, like the T-34s do, they just go out, they do their thing, you know, with the missing man formation, they still brief it. They still put a person who's in charge. Now they're doing close formation, and they're flying with as if they're one airplane. And more often than not, it's usually Tyler that usually is the one that takes charge. But you know, a lot of the other guys, George can, and all you guys that fly the T-34s. But each one of you also are pilot in command of your own airplane. And believe me, if there's an incident that takes place, that's how the FAA is going to look at too. Don't just fly your airplane like a sheep, hoping that everything will be okay. That's kind of what that guy did. That's kind of what a lot of pilots do. How many of you here have read reports of airplanes that have gone down or crashed and they survived, and some of the things that they come back with? I mean, you're sitting there going, who was flying the airplane? You know, I mean, it's like, I don't remember, there was that one incident with that guy it was not too long ago. He ran out of gas, you know, out and landed on the freeway, and he was like, well, gee, I don't know, I just ran out of gas, you know, and I mean, you know, what in the world, where did he, you know, where did he get his fuel? Did he even bother to look that he had fuel? So, you know, there's a lot of this stuff just kind of goes like that, and you gotta be the authority. Be situationally aware. Boy, the Air Force pounds that into our heads. I'm sure the Navy does too. Be situationally aware. Know what ATC is asking you to do. How many here are instrument rated? Okay, I know you guys got hit with, don't just blindly do what ATC tells you. Know where you're at. Know what you're doing. Guess what? You BFR pilots have to do the same thing. Just because the tower clears you for landing, do you just go ahead and land, or do you look around to see if you're not the only person in the pattern? Believe me.
I remembered my experience, and it's related to that exactly.
Yeah.
The other week I was coming in, I was demonstrating an instrument approach coming into March, and right on glide slope, a motorized paraglider right in front of me.
Oh, gee.
I just saw a parachute. I'm thinking, I thought somebody went the wrong way from Paris.
Yeah.
That's the first thing I saw was a parachute. Then I realized it had that big arc to it.
Oh, yeah.
And so I diverted and let March know they couldn't see it. It was too small.
Yeah.
And they're surprised that he's right there on
Right
the approach
there.
path, lined up with the runway perfect. And yeah, I didn't, you know, way closer than I wanted to be.
Yeah. Actually, it happened to us in the 141. Because we have the Paris jump zone out here, and and of course the ILS approach goes right down right next to it, and we did that. They cleared us for approach, and I'll be darned if we were sitting there, and I don't remember who the AC was, but here was this parachute coming right over here. I mean, he was just, you know, he wasn't going to be right in front of us, but it was close enough.
Yeah, this guy,
Yeah.
I would have hit him if
That's a whole, man. So just don't blindly follow what ATC tells you. That's both IFR and BFR pilots. Okay, let's see. You are making the decisions. It's your airplane, it's your life, and the life of your passengers. Remember that.
One thing to add too is also listen. I was doing some work over at Hemet, I was on downwind base, final, and Robert's on final. Twin engine, just like, oh, okay, taking off. And I was like, okay, I'm final, should be fine. What's he do? Back taxi.
Oh.
And I said, okay, going around. And he goes, oops, didn't see you there. And I'm sitting here, I've been doing pattern work for about last like 3 landings, so it's always look around.
Anybody else? Yeah, stories like that. Okay. Now this is somebody that out of the article I read. It's Associate Editor Jill W. Tallman writes about the nuts and bolts of making everyday types of decisions in her story when the plan goes out the window. How many times does that happen to you when you're flying someplace? You know, something totally changes.
Well, the restaurant.
I don't know. Oh, yeah, the restaurant's closed, yeah. Tolman makes the case, and rightfully so, that deciding to go fly is the first in a long string of decisions, many also requiring plans B, C, and so on. It's about exercising pilot and command authority, in other words. So, you're the person in charge. You know, we watched a lot of movies, you know, and you have John Wayne up there at the helm, you know, and he's, you know, doing all this stuff, and he's the man that's taking charge. Well, you know, if it takes having to think yourself that being that like that, then do that. Just be the person that's in charge. Any questions? That's Bob's.
We know.
Shooting an ILS.
Shooting ILS. Let's see if there was anything else. Okay, the October safetygram is posted and is on the computer. And for those of you who haven't flown yet, be prepared to read the PIF for the October safetygram. This one's on NOTAMs and TFR and changing airspace today. That's the other thing as pilot and command you got to watch out for is TFRs. Boy, they're popping up everywhere, and just before the election, they have been popping up almost literally every day. And so, yeah, Matt.
Will base ops help us know about that stuff if you call down there and ask them?
Base ops may not. I wouldn't trust them. I wouldn't really trust them.
Yeah.
On TFRs, yeah.
You have to check that yourself.
800 WX brief.
It's
800 weather brief.
Well, if
Yeah.
you're an AOPA guy, they send you emails about those. That's a really good thing to have.
Yeah. Yeah. How many here belong to AOPA? Okay, good. Yeah.
That's the only good reason really to be in that thing.
Exactly,
You don't
yeah.
use the insurance or anything else.
Yeah.
Is to get those TFR notices. But
Yeah.
Just I asked that Roger to prove a point that base ops doesn't really want to discourage.
Yeah.
To help the Air Force guys do an IFM package for you, they'll help you do stuff. But for
Yeah.
us out there running around, if there's a TFR that pops up.
Exactly. Yeah. They're not, you know, reliable.
Well, when you say base ops, though, there is a website, baseops.net, that has a quick link to graphical TFRs that is up to date.
Okay.
So you mean base ops.
Yeah, because people
But,
call down there and go, hey, how's the weather and what's going
Yeah.
on, and they'll tell you all that stuff, but they're not required to give you an IFM package.
Yeah.
Something like that.
It's
Give you all the NOTAMs.
It's also another good reason to use flight following if you're flying VFR,
Exactly.
because the local air traffic control will know about the TFR also.
Yeah. Absolutely. Yeah. Yeah. For you guys that are just, you know, VFR pilots, you know, that I would highly recommend to do, you know, flight following every time. Unless you're just jumping down the French Valley, but even then you might want to check. Ken, or no, it was Scott.
No, I was just going to say a couple of weeks ago when they had that mini air show at Flaybob Airport, and they closed the airport for several hours.
Yeah.
I was at Riverside Municipal Airport listening to my little handheld radio, and I heard all these pilots requesting transitions to Flaybob, and the tower controller was saying, you got the NOTAM, right? That Flaybob's closed. Oh no, I didn't get that. So, you know, several, three pilots. I heard three. So again, you know, you have to you have to know what you're doing, and you have to get the information in advance.
With this today's technology, we've got at our fingertips a wealth of sources and in aviation. So in a lot of ways, there is no excuse to really go out there and get in trouble. But then on the other hand, yeah, I've known pilots who have checked everything, I mean everything, took off, and now this is back when TFRs were really starting to get going, and the guy flew right into a TFR that popped up just between the time he had last checked everything and took off, and he lost his license over it. So, you know, you sit there and go, that's not right. Well, yeah, I agree, but the trouble is that they're hard on TFRs, and if you fly into one, you know, it just, you know, they're going to take it away. They are going to take your license away, unless there's some totally extraordinary circumstances that takes place.
Flight following.
Yep, flight following. Anybody else?
To cover some TFR stuff here. There were some issues with the FAA at the AOPA meeting in regards to TFRs because the Obama administration and Home Security made it a moving TFR whenever he got in the bus and he was traveling. And the argument was, if the president gets in a bus and you have a TFR that's 5 nautical miles in diameter, and he moves 2 or 3 miles down the road, and you get airborne and you know where that TFR is, and this is a moving TFR, where do you go? And they couldn't answer it. So in the meantime, you're airborne, and now he's 10 miles down the road, and that 5 miles is still around the bus. Or you're thinking it's here, no, it's now down here. That created a great problem. So the FAA has basically come to resolve it, says, no, you can't do this anymore. And Home Security is doing a fix so that once they set a TFR, it stays in place for the pilots. But it was a real issue when he was moving around on his bus and the Home Security tried to do a moving TSR, which is just incompatible with the pilot.
The other thing is his route is secret. They don't tell you what his route is going to be.
That's, yeah.
So nobody knows what a TFR
Yeah.
is going to be.
Well, the assistant director of airports, Catherine Lang, was made aware of a lot of issues and discussed some of this in one of the airport meetings I had the opportunity to attend this past weekend. So just be aware that even though you pre-flight properly, you may not know about a TFR, and especially during the fire season, things pop up in a hurry. Most of the time, if the president's going to be here, you'll have a TFR. It's about 2 days in advance. And then there's a lot of times you'll find something that pops up immediately that you have no knowledge of. And like was mentioned earlier, the only way you're going to find this out is going through flight service. Tower's not going to give it to you. Weather briefing is not going to give it to you. Or if you have the opportunity, the next people will be Lockheed. So just be aware that they can move.
I think it's probably a good idea too, if you got a second radio, to leave it in 21.5,
Yeah.
121.5. That's probably the first frequency the F-16 is going to be talking to you on. That's intercepting. If you're not talking to flight following, that's a good frequency to have up.
Okay, I got the instructor's phone numbers over if you want them, and let's see. We are talking about doing a Christmas party again, and we're thinking about doing it the same place we did last year at Pinnacle Peaks. So,
That was good.
you know, we'll see if we can do something like that, because we had a lot of fun. Believe me, it was really neat. We even had more people show up to that than we do here. So.
Well, if you brought steak here, we'd have more people showing up.
Yeah, actually, you can eat in here. It's not. That's what's nice about it here.
Well, we tried to have barbecues until they took the room from us.
Yeah, we were going to have barbecues and all that stuff, and then they took our room away from us down there because we were going to have the meetings down there in that big, huge room that's next door to us, and they took that away from us. But we can kind of do that. I mean, we can actually do barbecues prior to the meeting if you want. We could like start about 4 o'clock in the afternoon, and I know some of you go out and come out later in the day and fly, but we can have like a barbecue and do stuff like that. I think we ought to do that because that's it's a lot of fun, and just, you know, cook your own steak, do something like that.
Talking
Okay.
about Christmas, so we can start planning for reservations. You want it on a weeknight, like the meeting for safety, or you want it on a weekend? I have to kind of start asking these people to put our name in on a bid to reserve a particular space, and then we'll just plan from there. I'm looking for hands for a weekend. It'll be like a Saturday night, maybe a Sunday night. How about on the Tuesday night, which is normal?
We have the same meeting at the same time? Does that
No.
constitute the
Well,
same meeting?
we tried that one time and it didn't work real well.
Yeah.
I thought it worked great. What do you mean?
I know, you were drunk anyhow. So.
That's the problem. That's why it works so well.
Okay, for Saturday nights, the first weekend is going to be the 1st, followed by the 8th, the 15th, and the 22nd. Jump around the 22nd, you've got families and stuff. People are gone for the holidays. So 1st and the 8th, I think the first 2 weekends probably works the best for most people. How many people like it on the first weekend on the 1st? How about the next one on the 8th, second weekend? It's kind of 50-50. My viewpoint is get it over with. It's a busy month for me.
First weekend.
We'll shoot for the 1st, which would be Saturday. Everybody in favor of Saturday, or they want to go a Sunday night?
Saturday.
Friday night's kind of out too. We can do it on the 30th of November too, which would be a Christmas party. Or we can do it on.
Just keep Christmas in December.
Yeah, I understand. Okay, we'll shoot for the 1st. We'll see what's going to happen. I'll go out with an email to everybody, and we'll try and get it started. What time did we do last time? 7 o'clock? 7 p.m. 6?
I think it was I don't remember. I think it was 7.
I think we did 6, somewhere like 6:30, something like that. So that's what we'll shoot for on a Saturday, and that way we'll look for 2 or 3 hours.
Would you like to take a vote for the 1st and the 8th?
Well, we'll go out. We'll go out. We just did it.
How would you like to ask the audience?
I just did, Art.
And what was the
50-50.
I'm looking the other way.
50-50. We're going to try the 1st and see where we're going.
I won't be here on the 1st.
Okay, we'll see where we're going to go and see how many people respond for the 2 days.
Okay. Okay, any questions? 20 November is the next meeting if we're still here after the inspection. So, and especially David G, because maintenance guys